All your school rugby, all in one place. This is Next Gen 50.
Alright guys, welcome to Next Gen 15, and it's that time of the year. That's where we look at 15 young prospects to watch for the upcoming season, which of course now is the 2022 season. So if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released, you'll be the first to know. Now, to put into words how difficult this whole exercise has been would be near impossible, to be honest with you. You must remember that this year's crop hasn't had a full season since under 15 level, guys. That means no Grand Como. That means no Craven Week. I know that there were some interprovincial games and all the rest of it, but without Craven Week, without Grand Como, that's when a lot of these hidden gems get discovered. I think back to a player like Renzo Du Plessis in his grade 11 year when, going to Ben Forster, which is not a giant rugby school in the bigger picture, having that try from one end of the field to the other made him stand out, and people watching him a lot more closely. And, I just think about how many Renzo Du Plessis are out there that we've missed out on the last couple of years because of this situation. And it's a very political thing at the same time, so I'll try not to comment on it. This is a school rugby channel, but we've played through world wars before. We played through the Spanish flu. There's many situations where we've played through. So if there's ever a situation again like this, I think I understand health and safety and all the rest of it, but let the boys play. I can't even imagine how much it's hampered a lot of these kids' development. Now, in terms of the PAX 100, of course, every time, I release a list like this, I get 100 emails. I get complaints on Facebook. I get complaints on Instagram. Again, these are players that we are keeping an eye on. It's all personal opinion. We get it wrong a lot of the time. There's guys that we'll be mentioning by the end of this year that weren't even on the radar right now. And that's the beauty of school rugby. Everyone has a chance to prove themselves. So for the guys that didn't make the PAX 100 and haven't made this 15-man list, then, don't worry about it. If you play with the right spirit and you play with the right attitude, you are going to get mentioned. We must have mentioned thousands of players over the years. Yeah, I think we can all appreciate it. And remember that we've built this entire infrastructure for schoolboys and for fans of schoolboy rugby. So it's all about you guys, and you will get the recognition within time. So in previous versions of this, what we've done is we've done just 15 players, right? So decided to mix things up a bit this year and focus on it positionally. So we're going to go down from fullback all the way to prop. Now, a lot of these guys could have changed positions, right? And a lot of these guys could have changed schools. We've done the best that we can with the information that we can. And again, it's based on personal opinions. So it's going to start off with talking about the player in the position we feel that you should keep a close eye on. And right after that, there'll be a couple of honorable mentions of other players that you should try and keep an eye out on as well. Now, out of these 15 players, we will be naming our number one prospect on Friday. So the number one prospect starting in 2020, that was Connor Evans from Bishops, doing very well for himself. 2021 is Luca Ribbons from Paarl Boys. And 2022, as mentioned, will be from this group. So let's get into the list, guys. So we're going to start off with the fullback position, and Jorenzo Julius from Roos. I think in the few games that we saw of him, very, very impressive young player, hard runner. And I believe he's actually a Namibian. I believe he's not even South African. I'm not sure if he's got a South African passport yet or not, but he looks like a very exciting prospect for the future. He's an absolutely electrifying runner. Very, very entertaining player to watch. Very easy on the eye. Roos' program is coming up, guys. Believe me. They've always been a giant of South African rugby, one of the big six to speak. But in the next couple of years, they've got some real outstanding talent coming through. And Jorenzo is definitely one of the leaders of the pack, so to speak. Excuse me. So in terms of honorable mentions, Janiel Losper from Paarl Gim, again, a guy that looks really, really exciting. Michail Damon from Garsfontein looks really exciting. I really like him, especially as a sevens player. Looks really, really exciting. And then there's Jacques Jooste from Rondebosch. I think he might play fly-off this year. If he chooses to play fullback, I think he'll do well there. He's got one of the biggest boots in the country. Very, very impressive young player. Very mature young player. Really excited to see him. I think the Southern Suburbs rivalry is going to be intense this year. Then moving on to the right wing, we have Alfondso Isaacs from Grey College, another very exciting runner from the Craddock region. Played centre as a youngster, I believe, but then was, and you could play centre this year, you don't know, but there's so much depth in the Grey College team this year, it's frightening. But Alfondso is outstanding. We talked about him in our under 16 prospects video as well. Looks like a very, very exciting prospect for the future. Electrifying speed, knows how to find that try line. Very similar profile, in my opinion, to someone like Wycliffe Latour. You know, just speed in spades, knows how to find the gap, great spatial awareness, even solid on defense, solid under the high ball, just an all-round great player. So it'll be interesting to see where he plays this year. Honorable mentions, Adriano, Prag, I'm hearing good things about from Boland, Landbou. Ndaba from Monument is someone I'm hearing very, very good things about as well. And then Risima Sambo from Affies. Obviously, this guy is built like a brick, you know what, and looks like a very exciting player. Was part of the South African under-18 mix last year as well. So, I mean, he'll definitely be in the mix there as well. Very exciting prospect and hard worker as well. So, can't wait to see him develop. Then outside centre, I mean, you know, last year, obviously, Suleiman Hartzenberg was the former outside centre in South Africa. So, big shoes to fill. But we'd be looking closely at Logan Opperman. Now, Logan played wing for Paarl Gim last year, part of a generationally gifted Paarl Gim team. Obviously, these guys have got a lot of expectations on their shoulders. He's previously played centre at youth level. That's why I've got him at outside centre over here. But it'll be interesting to see where they play him this year, because I thought he was absolutely outstanding as a wing. I mean, who can remember that handoff with poor Roos, 8th man? It was absolutely amazing. Very exciting prospect as well. A lot of these Paarl Gim youngsters have been playing together for, you know, since they babies basically as well. So a lot to look forward to from this year's group. Definitely a dynamic backline. Honorable mentions, although he wasn't mentioned in the PAX 100, just keep a very close eye on Ulrich Wahl from Grey College. Yeah, you know, we don't want to fill up the whole list with guys from Grey College, Paarl Boys, Paarl Gim, Porus, Affies, Monument, and all the rest of it. So that's why we made a bit of space on the PAX 100, but really keep a close eye on this guy. Very strongly built, tremendous athlete. I think the 13 jersey is going to be his this year, but let's see what happens. Then Shah de Jong, we've spoken about him before from Paarl Boys, another very exciting talent. And then finally Gilermo, Mentoe from Bishops. Big boots to fill in terms of the Suleiman Hartzenberg position. But he's his own man and will develop according to his own space. Very highly rated by those in the southern suburbs. Then we move on to inside centre. Now, this is one of the most, I'd say the second most competitive position in the country. So much talent over there. But ultimately, guys, we all know who the number one prospect, so to speak, for this position would be. And I think it'll be quite hard to argue against it. And that's obviously Bruce Sherwood from Bishops. Outstanding young talent. I mean, this guy, like logic, it almost defies logic how someone with this size can move so quickly. And, you know, his gameplay is just way beyond his years. I mean, whichever union manages to get this kid signatures are already going to have a superstar on their hands for the future. Very exciting backline player, partnered Suleiman. I mean, he was just, him and Suleiman as a center combination were just meant to be. They complement each other so well. Bruce is fantastic in the offload. His defense is amazing. Bone crushing tackles. Knows how to get past the gain line each and every time. Will walk into SA schools this year. It's a foregone conclusion, and definitely one of the more talented centers of the last couple of years. Honorable mentions, Alec McIntyre from Grey College looked like a very good prospect last year. Obviously, like many players on the list, didn't have a lot of time to prove himself, but definitely this year will have time. We hope, touch wood. P.A. van Niekerk, Philip Albert van Niekerk. This guy, Bruce is a tremendously talented player, but I mean, it was, it's very tough between him and P.A. van Niekerk. P.A. van Niekerk is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player in the country. The amount of work this kid gets through is just something unbelievable. And he's effectively an extra loose forward. I mean, if you see his work on the breakdown, he's near immovable. He'll do a tackle in the midfield, and I mean, the kid knows how to tackle. He'll do a tackle in the midfield, and it could be a prop on 8th man, and he'll compete for that ball. And loose forwards, it doesn't matter the size of the guys, they struggle to get him off the ball. Looks like a very, very special player, and a combination of him and Logan as centers is just a mouth-watering, to say the very least. And then we got Liam Prinsloo from Maritzburg College, a giant. I mean, I think this kid's over 100 kilograms, guys. And the Maritzburg College backline itself is extremely exciting this year. So there's a lot of competition at inside center, but like I said, it's the second most contested position, in our opinion. Moving on to left wing, yet another youngster that could play at centre or wing or fullback, could play all over the place, and such a talent. Played Grand Como as an under 15 player, and that's Lily Bester, guys. This guy is dynamite, absolutely lethal runner. He's got speed in spades, he's got great handling, he's got great defense, mature beyond his years. I think that shows that he played the fact that he played Grand Comos and under 15. I mean, you need a great deal of maturity at such a young age to make that step up. It's a tough competition, and Lily did it in spades. Like I said, going to be part of a dynamic Maritzburg College backline this year. So will he be playing wing? I think it's I think if he does go for sort of the wing fullback dynamic, it's very easy for him in terms of SA school starting place. Centers, obviously there's a heck of a lot more competition over there, but he can play anywhere in the back line. He's a very, very dynamic player. And with some players you think, that versatility is a curse. With him it's a blessing. I mean, he can, some guys have that ability to play very well as a wing, great as a centre, for example, but for me, Lily can play great anywhere in the back line, obviously besides the fly-off position, with all due respect. I mean, that's quite specialised, but dynamic athlete. Now, if you think about the Maritzburg back line, we've just mentioned Liam Prinsloo, him and Best as a centre combination, that's also mouth-watering. I mean, guys, especially in the back line this year, there's some exciting talent coming through, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are going to be players that you guys haven't heard about, that we haven't heard about, that are going to come through as well. That's always what happens with school rugby, and that's what makes it so damn exciting. So on honourable mentions, keep close eye on Antonio Brainers from Outeniqua. Again, maybe he plays fullback, maybe he plays wing. Let's see what happens. Lovuyo Nkompela from Grey High. He was outstanding at under 13 Craven Week. I think he was a leading try scorer in the competition. So quite exciting to see how you develop over the time from under 13 to under 18. Now a lethal wing, part of the Saru EPD mix. Proves himself this year. Grey High School have got a very, very good team, one of the better teams in the last couple of years. So if he proves himself, South African school selection is definitely not out of reach. Then we move on to definitely the most competitive position this year in terms of depth. Okay, so when I say competition, I just say there's a lot of quality over there in terms of places. But in terms of our fly-off to watch this year, I mean, he's head and shoulders respectfully above all other players that I've seen for a long time, and that's Liam Quinn from Paarl Gim. I don't even know how to describe how much I rate Liam. You don't want to hype these guys up too much, but like I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to put it out there. I do believe this could potentially be South Africa's answer to Dan Carter. We've never had a fly half like that, but I really think that this kid can be something special. The game against Grey College last year just showed me a complete fly-off. Somebody that has a mature head on their shoulders, somebody that plays for his team, somebody that works hard for his team. It's not about individual brilliance in terms of moments based on ego, Those moments of brilliance come from seizing an opportunity. Those are the different types of flowers you get. You get this, and I think that's what made Dan Carter so fantastic. He had those moments of brilliance, but those moments of brilliance came from him seeing an opportunity, not from ego, like a Carlos Spencer trying to do all sorts of tricks to stand out and all the rest of it. That's the difference between, good and great. And Liam is a great schoolboy fly-off. I mean, one of the best I've ever seen, to be honest with you. And, while Paarl Gim are star-studded this year, what I like about them is that they're not going to completely, the whole game plan doesn't revolve around him. And most teams would make a whole game plan revolve around a player like this. But he fits into the team dynamics so well. His passing, his ability to put his teammates into space, his tactical kicking, his kicking for goal. I mean, it's amazing. Now, obviously, son of Louis Kuhn. Louis Kuhn is just one of those unfortunate players that was just stuck in the wrong generation. I mean, you think about Rudolf Strolly now, one of the best administrators in the game. You think about Corne Krige, guy that put his body on the line all the time. Louis Kuhn was a very underrated fluff, but that class of 2003 were just around, like there was no support. It was a very weak generation. I think if these type of guys played in any other generation, they would have been remembered like with a lot more appreciation than they are today. And this is definitely a case of the apple not falling far from the tree. This guy's going to go a long way, guys. Believe me on that. Honorable mentions, and like I said, a lot of competition here, guys. Stay on Heymans from Affies. I'm hearing fantastic things about him. An ex-Springbok coach that really, really, really rates him. Then there's Michail Matanise from Grey High, can play fullback as well, but I think he'll be playing fly-off this year. Some have compared him to Kerwin Bosch at a school level, sort of similar level, and that's speaking very highly of a player when you say something like that. But very exciting talent, and Grey High definitely have an exciting team this year. And Michail is rated throughout the country. Everybody knows about this kid. He's definitely got a bright future. Then Spang Wopo, one of these guys any other year would have been a likely starter for SA schools, but unfortunately Liam Kuhn's there right at the front of the queue, let's be honest. But Spark can play fullback. He can play equally well as a fly-off. But if he wants that guaranteed South African school start, in my opinion, you have to look at that fullback berth. Number 10 jersey belongs to Liam this year, guys, let's be honest. Then we move on to scrum off, and again, another player that, let's be honest, the jersey is basically theirs this year, theirs to lose, so to speak, and that's Caleb Abrahams from Grey College. Caleb has been a dynamic player from a young age. You find that a lot of young guys, develop over quite some time. Maybe they weren't as effective at under 14, under 15 level, then they gradually mature. I mean, you've had guys that have played under 14D that ended up making the Craven Week team, for example. But Caleb, from basically when he's been able to walk, has been made and built for rugby. His old man has been training him hard from a young age because he saw the talent and he had the belief in his son, and the two of them together are very close. Caleb doesn't take holidays like ordinary kids though. Caleb's on the field training. He's running around with a tire attached to his back. He's practicing his passing. He's doing fitness drills. This kid is a worker. So you take a look at talent, yes, it's there, but that talent comes with a heck of a lot of hard work, guys. And this is one of the hardest workers in the game. A very talented scrum half. Obviously, last year, just behind Neil LaRue in the pecking order. Obviously, and Neil's also fantastic talent. We know that. So he would have probably been a backup to Neil last year, but this year definitely has to be a starter, guys. I mean, fantastic talent. And he's going to be the heartbeat of the Grey College team this year. I cannot wait for Grey College versus Paarl Gim. This is just going to be such a fantastic game to watch. Last year's game was fantastic as well. And it's players like Caleb and players like Liam that are going to make the difference between winning and losing for both teams. And Caleb had some great performances last year. I mean, when I took a look at his performance against Paarl Gim, there was a bit of trepidation at the beginning, and then he grew into the game and he grew into his role as a first-team rugby player. Remember, he never had under 16 year. He never had his Grand Como senior year as an under 16, so he never had that opportunity to truly shine for a full season. He hasn't had that yet. So to sort of pivot towards basically under 15 to first team level is a big pivot. And you could see for many of these players it was a big pivot. But Caleb just took it within his stride. And what a fantastic young talent. What a fantastic young man as well. Grey College should be proud of producing such youngsters. Honorable mentions. AJ Knutzer from Maritzburg. Again, Maritzburg, very exciting this year, guys. Enrique Liederman from Paarl Gim, I'm hearing fantastic things about. And, of course, Assad Moose from Weinberg. Another player I've been told to keep a very close eye on. Then we move on to 8th man. Should be no surprise here. Our MVP winner last year, someone we talked about at under 16 level as well, Zuki Sani Tom from Grey High School. He's going to have a lot to prove this year. Some say he might be playing 7. We don't know what the situation is over there. The Grey High School's coaching staff this year is going to be exceptional. They've got a real brains trust behind it. Believe me, they've got some talent there in the coaching department this year, so they'll know what to do with them. But definitely excited to see Zuki take to the field. I think he's been frothing to get back on the field of play. Loves the game of rugby, plays it with passion, and hope you enjoyed the boots, my man. Honorable mention, Siba Mahashe from Hudson Park. Looks like the real deal. Dynamic ball carrier. Basically a student of James Winstanley, who's obviously just left the program at Hudson Park just recently, but basically been raised up by James into the player that he is today, and definitely in the SA Schools mix. Hugo Ben Horn from Paarl Boys. I mean, these Horn kids, I don't know, you got Kewen, you got what's the 8th man from the Franke from the Lions. So, I mean, the Horn and Paarl Boys dynamic continues. And I remember seeing him, when he was playing under 15 level, the Paarl Derby. What a fantastic player. Who knows what the situation is going to be this year? I'm just saying this is someone that I've heard about. I've seen him play as a youngster. I still think that talent has to be there. So, looking forward to seeing how he gets on this year. Paarl Boys definitely got an exciting team this year, as they always do. And guys, the Paarl Derby, isn't that going to be something special? And then finally, Lisa Litle Mape Kula from Graham. Someone highly rated within the system, guys. Part of their under 18 and EPD setup. Someone that you definitely feel strongly will be in the SA Schools mix this year. So a lot of competition in this position as well. Don't forget Franco Rue from Stellenberg as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of competition in terms of this position. Then we move on to flanker. This is a tough one, but I went with Lucas Meyer from Grey College. He just really impressed me with his overall gameplay last year. Just the passion that he plays with, the dedication that he plays with. I mean, Grey boys often talk about this notion of grey guts. And when I saw him on the field of play, that's what I saw within him. I saw grey guts. I saw somebody that's definitely developed as a rugby player. But someone that really plays with his heart on his sleeve. He plays a hard game of rugby, guys. And I think he's a very exciting talent. I think also a great potential leader for the future as well. We'll see what happens this year. But he impressed me greatly last year. And I think he's a great young character. And looking forward to seeing him this year. Honorable mentions, again, guys, these positions can change. So Zadile Nzuza from Glenwood, hearing good things. Tian Jacobs from Selborne can play as a lock as well, big boy. And then Aiden Smith. Aiden's a monster. I mean, he's a big boy from Menlo Park. He's always been a big boy. I think he's a South African shot put champion as well, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of strength and a lot of depth in that position over there. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamics at play. Moving on to number 6. Goes without saying, Matthew Fick. Sorry I couldn't get a better picture. But yeah, we mentioned him in our under 16 prospects videos a couple of years back. Time has flown, hasn't it? We're already here where these boys are at under 18 level. Yeah, Matthew's built extremely strongly, ideally for a number 6, guys. Absolutely, absolute unit, and the breakdown work is just extraordinary. Upper body strength is out of this world. I think the Paarl Boys loose trio this year is very underrated, and I think they're definitely going to do some damage this year. Very much looking forward to seeing Matthew play, and haven't seen physical photos of him lately, but from what I understand, he's grown even more. So that's a frightening prospects for our position players. Honorable mentions, hearing great things about Ryan Lowe from Helpmekaar, Graham Padinga from Rondebosch, and Cameron Skuman from Outeniqua. Again, guys, who knows where they're going to be playing along the back three. Not the back three, the loose trio. But yeah, these are loose forwards that I'm hearing great things about. Like I said, guys, this has been very difficult. Been a very difficult list to do, my word. No full season since under 15. Okay, lock. We have Jay van Heerden. I mean, might as well put that number 5 or number 4, wherever he prefers to play, jersey on him. SA Schools, definitely this year. Easily the best lock to come out of Grey College in the last decade, honestly. I know there's been some outstanding locks that have come out of there, but he's something else. I mean, he's got the agility of a loose forward. He's got the speed of almost like a backline player. Excellent work in the line out. He's all over the place, and the engine on this kid is just something else. He just doesn't stop. Plays at the same tempo the whole game. Absolute monster. So yeah, like, what else can you say about JF? I think he does more of his talking on the field. So over to you, JF. Honorable mentions, Wessel Joubert from Stellenberg, hearing good things about him. We all know how the J Brigade has improved a hell of a lot as a program, so expect some great talent to come through there, including Wessel. Luan Taylor from Garsfontein, I'm hearing great things about him. I'm also hearing very good things about Adam de Wahl from Bishop, so these are some other players that you maybe want to keep an eye on. Number 4, we went with Patrick Kitete, and do I need to say more? Look at the picture. The kid's a monster. I mean, I think he's Congolese, if I'm not mistaken. So, you've got those Central/West African genetics. As soon as they come and they start playing rugby, it's a blessing for us in South Africa because, I mean, these kids are just built proper. Now, I saw him come on as a reserve. I think it was in the Noordsite, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was a competition. He came on the reserve. As soon as I saw his first carry, I messaged an associate, someone that's involved with the site and, who helps us every now and then. And I said, get onto the streaming services right now and take a look at this kid. And they were just blown away by him. I mean, there's no doubt that this is a tremendous talent and a tremendous talent for the future as well. Keep a close eye on Patrick. And the Quachas are going to be exciting this year, guys. They've got an under-17 group that is generational. They've got an under-18 group that is very talented as well. So some very exciting times ahead for Outeniqua. A rugby program everybody in the country has to respect. Always have a giant forward pack, exciting backline players. They've got the right mix. So let's hope that they can crack into the top 5 at the very least this year. I think that's what their goal should be. Honorable mentions, Slubbert Martins, the giant from Paarl Gim. We spoke about him in our under 16 video. Grown even more apparently. I mean, obviously you'd expect that from 16 years old to now, but like apparently had a growth spurt that had a growth spurt. Big boy. Then Ben Heinrich from Paul Boys, yeah, and great things about him as well. And then Abon Gile Ngandi from Graham, who's part of the EPD under 18 top mixed last year. So you'd expect him to be fighting for a place within the South African schools team this year as well. So moving on to tight head prop. This was quite a tough position to think of, but we went with a very talented player. Someone we think is going to make waves this year, and that, of course, is Zach Porthen from Wynberg Boys. You'll notice that we haven't included any honorable mentions. We will mention all the props at the end of the video. A lot of these guys, I simply don't know if they're going to be playing tight head or loose head this year, so it's very difficult to determine what exactly is going to be happening there. So I'll just give you a list right at the end. But Zach, extremely talented player, part of the EPD, SA under 18 top squads. They call him the Phrygian for good reason. This guy dominates in the scrum time. equally capable of playing as a hooker as well, but primarily this year probably will be playing as a tight head prop. Again, guys, very, very talented player. Been talented from a very young age. Apparently also a hot water polo player. Great leader, will be captaining Wynberg boys this year as far as I can understand. And also amongst the prefects, maybe head boy. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been able to confirm that yet. But no doubt a very talented player to keep a very close eye on this year. We're looking forward to seeing Zach dominating those scrums. Should be some very interesting tussles over there. Okay, so hooker. Now this was a very tough one. There was two players I was looking at here, and it was literally a coin toss, guys. So I finally went with Luca Bacchus from Paarl Gim. I just saw it, especially in that Grey College game. He was absolute dynamite. This kid does not stand back for anyone. He's one of the most physical players I've seen over the last couple of years, and he really gets stuck in there. He started off as a loose forward, moved to hooker. I believe that's going to be an intense battle between him and another player that I'm going to mention very shortly for that number 2 SS Schools jersey. And that is Jean-Andre Breitenbach from Grey College, who also looks like an amazing talent. Both of them were in the S under 18 mix last year. So that tells you everything that you need to know. These guys are going to have an intense... I mean, that Grey College versus Paarl Gim game, there are going to be so many matchups, guys. It's going to be really exciting to see. Another honorable mention, Jean Small from Paarl Boys, someone that we spoke about it under, under 16 level as well, and under 16 talents. Very exciting player. Any other year, you know that he's going to be definitely in the SA Schools mix. But when you got players like Luca and Jean-Ray, I mean, this is just tough competition. But he's a great character as well, Jean. So there's no reason why this type of competition can't bring the best out of him. And then finally, keep a close eye on Josh Delicia from Kes. Looks like a very, very exciting prospect. Kes have definitely produced some very outstanding talents over the last couple of years. Very underrated program. The fact that we haven't had a full season shouldn't distract from the fact that they beat Affies a couple of years. So just remember that they got some real great players coming through. And don't forget another Kes old boy at hooker, someone that you might have heard of, Malcolm Marks. Then we move on to Loosehead. And I know a lot of you guys were thinking to yourselves, where the heck is a certain name, the name that I'm going to mention now. Now, I know he traditionally plays tight head, but he played a couple of games at Loosehead, and that's where I believe he'll play this year. And to me, a tremendously gifted player, a humble young kid, just an all-round good guy. And I'm so happy that he's realized the tremendous talent that he has, and that is Sophisto Maguaza. Kid is going places, guys. He's really going places. I mean, again, just like Affies, Monuments always produces their two positions they excel in, actually. That's centre and prop. And Sophisto is definitely one of the best to come out of the last couple of years. I really felt that it was difficult for him in the first couple of matches to try and acclimatize to conditions. Now, he did play Grand Como as an under 15. Do remember that. But still, to lose that under 16 year and to lose a full year of under 17 will take its toll. But what I saw in his under 17 year was someone that grew into his position as the season developed. And I think he's going to be an absolute standout this year. Couldn't be happier for him. He's going to walk into the South African schools team. Whether it's as a tight head or as a loose head remains to be seen. But I do believe that, my personal opinion, I really think that he's like his key position where he can go all the way. And when I mean all the way, I mean all the way. I mean green and gold all the way. I think there's an open gap over there for him in the loose head department. So honorable mentions in the props. Keep a close eye on Fasten Lobster from Boland Landbou. Kid's like 125 kilograms. Absolute monster. So, I mean, and those farmers love to scrum. Casper Badenhorst is another guy you should keep your eyes on. Grey College, another school that produces quality props in abundance. Then there's Nick Steinman from Hilton, who's been part of the EPD mix. Bradley Stunflit from Paarl Boys. I've heard great things about him as well as Bernard Bladdergroen. Apparently the two have very similar profiles, so that'll be a great matchup. Aiden Gentle, we spoke about as an under-16 player. Selborne College, another big boy, big boy. Loves to scrum, loves to get into the mix. Great carrier of the ball. Can't wait to see him. I think it's Selborne's 150th this year, so going to be a big year for them. So, yeah, a lot of these guys, I can't tell you for 100% certainty whether they're going to be playing loose head or tight head this year. All opinion-based. Not trying to make excuses, guys. Trying to do the best I can with the limited information. Remember, we had to do videos last year because of no rugby that were weird topics just to get content going. You know what I mean? So it's been barren for 2 years thanks to this the coof, let's call it. You don't want YouTube algorithms to pick up that other word. So let's just say the coof. The coof really has set things back a lot, and you just got to feel sorry for the players. And there'll be riots if we don't get a full South African school rugby season, surely. I mean, these kids deserve it. They haven't seen a full season since under 15. Frankly, in my opinion, it's disgusting. We're at the final stage now, guys. I do believe that. And I think this will be our first full season since 2019. And boy, do we all deserve it. Fans, parents, players. I think it's deserved. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of the video. There's always players that we miss out on these lists, and it's not necessary that we don't know about these players. You miss out on them because there's only rooms in the PAX 100 for 100 players, and there's only room in this 15 to watch for 15 players, obviously. So, there's always going to be somebody left out, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be mentioned during the year. And specifically, if we get a full season, you'll see a lot more players mentioned. We here to give the young kids exposure. That's what it's all about. So if your son or your brother hasn't gotten the exposure just yet, believe me, it'll come in the right time. And just remember, on Friday, we will be naming our #1 prospect for 2022. So who do you think our #1 prospect for 2022 is going to be? Leave your comment down below. And any players you think we left out, leave a comment down below as well. But as always, have a fantastic week further. Cheers. Bye.